Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to AWS OnAir, our weekly show here at AWS where we talk about the latest and greatest from AWS, brought to you by the people who made or helped make those things happen. I am Todd Fortier. I'm a senior solutions architect here at AWS, where I help develop solutions for what we call the AWS Solutions Library. If you haven't heard of that, head over to aws.amazon.com/solutions and check out all the stuff that we've built, our partners have built to help you solve everyday use cases. I'm joined by Robbie. Robbie, what's up, man?
Hey everyone, I'm Robbie Belson. I'm a senior developer advocate based in New York City, and our second time hosting here, Todd, together.
That's right. Yeah, our second time hosting. Yeah, I'm trying to host as much as I can. This is a really highlight of my week at AWS. I mean, most things are great. I love my job, but this is the best.
Get to be on with thousands of your favorite people from all across the globe. Tell us where you're coming in from, folks. I always love hearing from you. I remember, I think it was my first show when we co-hosted here together, Todd. I had a tree in the background, and the audience just couldn't decide whether it was real or fake. And that all of that trauma was such that no more tree in my background. I'm mixing it up. I'm bringing back the globe that we featured in our little promo. I mean, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, awesome. Let us know if you saw that little promotion on LinkedIn and what you thought of it. We're trying to get a little more clever with those things, but yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, I took a little globe and I was looking at it, calling me Magellan, trying to figure out where I'm going. And I was saying, I wanted to go to Las Vegas. And, probably globes isn't the best way. And of course, we're going to hear from the Amazon location service team. Before we talk about what we're going to cover here this week, I do want to mention, folks, this is one of many shows we have all across the week. You can tune into twitch.tv/AWS OnAir to take a look at our weekly programming. Friday's our weekly show, but Tuesday we have a show on startups. We've got a show on security, a show on Under the Hood with AWS, where you can dive deeper into the very services you know and love. Wednesday, we've got our producer Nick's show on all things sports. And Thursdays, we've got Step Up Your Game Day with AM. So no shortage of programming if you love twitch.tv/AWS OnAir as much as I do.
That's right. We're always streaming something. This is an exciting time of the year to be streaming and talking about AWS. We've got reInvent right around the corner, which I am in full preparation for and very excited to doing a couple sessions. Robbie, I'm assuming you'll be there as well, huh?
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it for the world. And for folks who are trying to figure out where we're going to be live streaming from the expo. I believe that's in the Venetian in Vegas. If you want to hear about the exciting feature launches, if you want to follow alongside us for some of the keynotes, I think we have this like altcast opportunity. So if you want to hear from us on, come visit us, say hi. But you can also hear, even if you're tuning in from home, about all the fantastic services that are being launched over the course of the year.
Yeah, that's right. Let us know if you're coming to reInvent in the chat. We want to know. We'll be on the lookout. I especially want to welcome our friends from the UK and Canada. I've been told that we are featured on the channels there. So let us know if you're tuning in from Canada or the UK. Welcome to the show. We got some exciting stuff. We're talking about, what do we say? We say Amazon location service, and we've got Limitless scale database with the PostgreSQL team and over at Aurora. So we got some cool stuff. I'm eager to get into it. What do you think about this week's episode, Robbie?
We got a 2-for-1 special. We get to learn about location technology. We get to learn about horizontal scaling through the beauty of Amazon Aurora. Thinking about this horizontal scaling, one less thing I got to focus on. So
wait, so I'm curious though. What's up with this globe thing? This globe is a very interesting globe too. When you told me you had a globe, I envisioned in my head like one of the ones from the classroom. You spin it, it's like got little raised bumps on it. But you brought out this like geometric white and black globe. What's up with this thing?
Behind me, so it's a paper globe. I think we had to like fold it up to make it look like it's like 3D. And so the idea is my fiance and I, everywhere we travel, you can't see it, but there's a little thumbtack all across the globe where we've traveled. And so the fact that in the promo, I just went and threw it, probably not the best thing. Probably going to be stepping on some thumbtacks.
You forgot where you went?
Yeah, exactly. So that's just a little memento to showcase where we've been. But it served a second purpose on our promo. So
yeah, I like it. Not great at giving directions or learning more about locations, which is why we're bringing on the Amazon. Not why we're bringing on the Amazon location service team, but maybe after this, you can come up with your own app to track where you've been. And that might be like kind of a cool new way to do it.
Exactly. I think let's bring in the Amazon location.
Are we
service.
ready? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get it started. See what they got. Hello, and welcome to our first segment of the day with Seth and Terry. Seth, why don't we start with you? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks watching and tuning in?
Hey, I'm Seth Fitzsimmons. I'm a principal engineer on the AWS Geospatial team. I work with geospatial teams around the company to help them figure out what they're doing and to build new stuff for all of you out there in the audience.
Cool. Welcome to the show. Terry, welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Liu. I'm a senior product manager for Amazon Location Service. So I work closely with our amazing engineering team to build and deliver the best location service and products to our customers. Super happy to be here today.
Very cool. Okay. Let's start from the beginning here. Let's talk about Amazon Location Service. Now, I am familiar with Amazon Location Service from my developer days, embedding different location services into different functionality and apps that we've done. But I understand there's a lot of parts to the Amazon Location Service and components of it. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amazon Location Service is a fully managed AWS service that allows developers to can easily embed mapping and location functionalities into their application. But I think before I talk about the service, it's important to understand the relevance and importance of location data. Actually, I think I would bet all the pocket money from my kids that everyone on this stream has interacted with location data in the past 24 hours. Let's see. You wake up in the morning, you check your weather app. The weather app knows your location. And you place an order on Amazon.com and it will deliver to your home address. Your home address is a piece of location information. Now the third one is I like the best. Now we are all watching a live show on Twitch, and the Twitch platform has to know your location to provide the best streaming experience to you. So location data is really embedded in all the apps we use on a daily basis. And Amazon Location Service is really here to help you alleviate the habit burden by embedding those services or data into your application. So Amazon Location Service will help you to easily embed popular location functionalities into your application. For example, I can place an interactive map in my mobile application my user can interact with. Or I can use the service to build a search widget to find a place of interest near me. Or I can ask the service to recommend the best route from my, say, home to my stadium I want to watch the show with. So that's just to name a few very common features our service is about. So an interesting fact of this service, I believe, is a pretty unique AWS service in a way that it combines the power of location data and the ease of use of a typical AWS service. When you interact with location data, the common challenges is how I can make sure I get the most accurate up-to-date information without worrying about managing the data sources, frequency refresh of the data, or the availability or reliability of my service. So Amazon Location Service helps you solve all of that. You can easily leverage our service, build location insights, deliver best experience for our customers with a personalized dynamic experience by using our service. And so that you can focus more on innovating on your core functions for your customers.
So using Amazon Location Service today, the traditional experience would be I would use your SDK and I would integrate it into my application of choice. But tell us what's new today. Is it new features? Is it an extension to the SDK itself? Tell us a little bit more about what we've launched.
That's a great question, Ravi. And the answer to your question is all of the above. So in a sense that the most common feedback we heard from our customer is that they want to have a one-stop shop for all their location needs so that they don't have to work with multiple vendors, go through all the lengthy process, integrate with all of them. So that's actually what we did. So in the most recent release happening this week, we introduced a total of 17 new or improved APIs with a fully improved developer experience. So these enhancements including some powerful search functionalities, such as the feature geocode to search for standardized address, or the feature called autocomplete that can help me. In example, I put in my home address, the service can predict your address as you type, such as an online checkout platform. A search nearby function, like find the coffee shop near my home office. Like what I ordered today. And some of our APIs can also return more detailed places information like business hours, opening hours, close hours, contact information like website or phone number, just in case I need a phone number to call back to the coffee shop and complain the ice Americano I ordered earlier this morning, or maybe write a bad review on their website. So that's the power of the location service. And the new features do not stop here. And we also introduced a full suite of route planning capabilities to help the organizations or the users to do more advanced route planning capabilities, like the optimized waypoint feature for a multi-stop delivery use cases.
So I won't need that paper globe behind me?
You need a paper globe, but the power of the location service to combine the service provide a more personalized experience to your customer, right? So
yeah, Terry. So I understand that we've got maybe a different way of demonstrating some of this. If you've got a demo for us, you've actually built an app around some of these features to help showcase. And instead of just looking at the console, which is something we typically do, we're going to see that in action through an application. I think, Seth, that might be where you come in. Should we go ahead and bring that demo on screen and get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So I've been thinking a lot about what happens when you combine stuff together. So Terry talked a little bit about combining location data and APIs, and our SDK experience combines a traditional SDK with a map render experience. So I wanted to combine all of that with an LLM, so with Bedrock, and I started reading about the tool use that the Anthropic APIs can do, and I wanted to give that a shot. So this is what I came up with as an experimental tool to see what we can come up with for an art of the possible. And I'm going to walk through a scenario where I'm planning a trip to Paris. So maybe that's not on your map yet, Robbie, but should be. There's some pretty cool sites. We're gonna tour through some of those as we can. So what I did is I asked the chat agent to help me plan a trip. And I'm going to start by staying in a hotel near the Eiffel Tower. And it's going to start combining APIs and tools together to put together the experience. So it's going to do a geocode to figure out where the hotel is. It's going to create a map. It's going to add some markers, or just one in this case, so we can interact with the map as this is going on. So there is the hotel, or the location of the hotel. And it's got some recommendations for me already. So it's going to suggest that maybe I can find some nearby restaurants, cafes, or things like that. It can calculate walking and driving times. And what I want to do is I actually want to start with a leisurely breakfast. So I wanted to suggest me some options. And this is, again, one of those things where we've got 17 new APIs. It's kind of hard to know which one to call without reading a bunch of documentation. In this case, I've surfaced some parts of that documentation to the LLM so that it can make choices about that. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to use the Calculate ISO-Lines API, which is going to figure out where we can get to within 15 minutes. And then it's going to figure out how big that area is, and it's going to call search nearby, and the red box means that it got it wrong. This is another thing that's interesting to me about the LLMs. They make a lot of the same mistakes that humans do. In this case, it misread the documentation, and it tried to include breakfast, brunch, and cafe as category IDs. And it needed to retry the query. So what it did is it removed it, and it searched for bakery, baked goods, coffee shop, and cafeteria. And it gave me some results that I can go explore on the map.
Yeah, Seth, like, before we get a little too far, I want to make sure that we're acknowledging our audience here. We've got questions coming in, and we got our first question. Our first question of the day: is there an option to choose between different location algorithms when hitting these APIs?
Yes, depending what the question means. So the route optimization can optimize for distance or for time. The isochrones can optimize for speed of results versus quality of results. Yeah, so there's some things like that to start with.
Okay, so there's some control over the algorithm. And then I just want to catch people up here because there's a lot happening on screen and there's a lot of stuff going on. You've developed this app, Seth, you developed this app and you incorporated Bedrock to create an interactive chat-like experience that can help you call these APIs. And now there's an agent running to help facilitate those API calls? Is that what's happening?
Yes. So there's a run loop that's driven by the left part of the interface. So it's letting me chat with the Bedrock Converse Stream API.
Okay.
And then the responses from that come back with tool uses from time to time, in addition to content that the LLM has written. And those tool uses trigger in-browser actions. So that's what we're seeing on the top right. These are the list of actions that it's making. Some of those actions are backed by Amazon location APIs. So far, we've made 5 calls. We've made 1 to geocode, 2 to calculate ISO lines. The second one is what we see on the map right now. And then 2 to search nearby, one of which was wrong, the second of which got fixed. So it's making some choices about which APIs to call. And this is kind of an interesting demo to do because I don't know what it's actually going to do. Sometimes it chooses search text, sometimes it chooses search nearby, sometimes it uses geocode. We get some different results.
Yeah, that's a term that I've heard in generative AI, and I didn't understand it until I saw it in action, which is undeterministic, right? There are different ways that things can occur when interacting with these LLMs, and you're seeing that firsthand here with the decisions it's making to get to a point.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
So I'll back up a little bit and I'll talk a little bit more about the isochrones. So with the isochrones, this is the visual representation of what comes back from that API. So this is converted to GeoJSON and then displayed on a MapLibre map. And it shows 3 concentric rings that show where I can get to within 15, 30, and 60 minutes. And we can see that all of the breakfast places that it recommended are within the 15-minute zone. So now what I'm going to do is I want to check out some museums. We can go a little bit more off the beaten path once we get through the main part of this. I've been experiencing some issues that some of you folks out in the audience may have been seeing as well, where rate limiting, totally a thing, especially when you've got these rich chat UIs. It's making a lot of calls back and forth. So I may be experiencing some rate limiting in here. So once I get through the main part here, we can go off book a bit. So this is another place where it's interesting to combine the location data that comes back from Amazon location with the general knowledge that these different models have. So here I asked for some recommendations, and it gave me some recommendations using its general knowledge, which it can then plug into our APIs, search nearby, search text, where it can find more information out about those that may be current. So that's another thing where there are these knowledge cutoffs in the models and so on and so forth. Anyway, so I did some initial research here, and there's a museum about cameras called the 99 Cameras Museum. There's a counterfeiting museum and the Musée d'Orsay, which is an impressionist museum in a train station on the Seine. So I want to go visit those. I want to start at my hotel, and then I want to end at the Eiffel Tower. And depending, I'm hoping that it actually ends at the Eiffel Tower. It doesn't always end at the Eiffel Tower. Sometimes it misses pieces here and there. So this is one of those things where this is very much an art of the possible. I wouldn't want to put this up against Expedia or anything like that out of the box.
One interesting question would be, Seth, as we think about the maybe call to action to developers as they look to embed geospatial and location data into their applications. It is true that you could prompt Sonnet 3.5 right now to say, hey, give me recommendations in Paris. And it will do a best effort approach to create a route with none of the precision and depth of details that you've just mentioned here. So behind the scenes here, where is the knowledge base, the data that you feed it? Where is the out-of-the-box LLM? And where are the location calls? What's actually happening?
Yeah, so the text that we're getting back in the chat window on the left, that's coming from the LLM's general knowledge. Some of which it's pulling out of the API results because it's got the ability to do that. But a lot of it's actually just pulling straight from its own knowledge. What we're seeing on the map and what we're seeing in the API calls and then the facts down here. So So here's the GeoJSON for the counterfeiting museum. That's all coming from the Amazon location APIs. So what we're seeing on the map is all real data that was fetched today that is up to date. So it's one of those things where you can use that to balance out what the model knows about with current reality. And it's been interesting exploring that a bit. So what we got here is it made a few more calls. Let's see, what did it do? It searched for the museums that I wanted to look for, and then it called optimized waypoints with those museums and my hotel, and apparently not the Eiffel Tower, to figure out what the right order to visit them in is. And then it added them to the map. So that's where the numbers come from, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it called calculate routes to figure out what the best walking route is between them. And then it showed it on a map. So again, this is one of those things where it ends up being, I've been finding it really helpful to figure out how to compose calls. So like, what information do you need in order to call optimized waypoints? Well, you need your waypoints. And if you just have textual descriptions of them, you need to turn that into something. Once you've got that, you can turn it into a route, and you can display it on the map. And you can get some alternatives in some cases. So as far as all of you out there, this is a good way to just help figure out, okay, my app has some complex needs. What is the order in which I need to make these calls? So we've covered all the core stuff I wanted to. So I wanted to just like open this up. Like, what do we want to do in Paris? Like, how do we want to interact with these APIs? And is there anything else we want to find?
If I'm thinking about France, I'm thinking food and wine. That's where I'm going to. So I'm getting hungry, and I could go for some wine. Maybe that's a place we can start.
Okay. Well, do you want to do that? Let's look for some wine. Let's get some wine after visiting our final museum.
Yeah. What I love about this is like how contextualized it is, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it knows that our final museum was the Musée d'Orsay. So it's going to look for wine bars and wine-focused establishments. And we can look and see what it's using for categories. Wine and liquor, bar or pub. And it's getting some results back. And here they are. So we can see that there's actually one that's there's one that's actually at the museum.
Okay.
And then here's one that would be potentially nice to go afterwards. It's right on the river. I bet it's got some amazing views. And we can tell that because we've got it in context with the map.
Yeah, so this is very cool. I'm like, so as a former, I'm still a developer, more of a tinkerer now, but I spent 10, 12 years developing apps similar to this. I'm curious on just your experience in developing, putting all of these tools together. Is there something you used to help you get started, like a toolkit or a framework that helped you get to this point a little bit faster?
An LLM.
Okay.
So no, seriously. So this is a React app that I built up from scratch.
Okay.
And I wanted to do it as quickly as possible, and I wanted to explore the options that LLMs have. So using a mixture of Q Developer and Sonnet directly, I guided it through the components that I wanted to build and just built it up piece by piece to get these things out. And
nice.
It's allowed me to add a lot of really neat features very quickly. That I ordinarily wouldn't have been able to do. So like you can hyperlink between things. Like I didn't even know how to do that, but by using the LLMs, like an hour later, you've got this piece of functionality built out.
Yeah, that is. I think I'm a little late. I should have been a developer today. Like I'm gonna start like waxing like an old guy. Like when I was developing, I had to do it by hand with a pencil. And then now you use the LLM and it can help you develop these apps, help you incorporate LLMs into the app. That's really cool.
Awesome demo. I think we're almost at time here for the segment here on Amazon Location Service, folks. For those just tuning in, we've got enhanced places, routes, and maps functionality. Seth just demoed a really cool way to integrate Bedrock with Location Service, which really just shows the composability and modularity of the very features that we developed. You can mix and match. You can add the granularity to a traditional, hey, I want to go visit Paris. And real kudos to the team, Seth. I want to give you the final word, though, Terry. what do you want devs to do if they want to learn more about Amazon Location Service?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out our website, and then you can use the power of search, just figure out website or watch the video and seek the link below, and figure out how to interact with our service, and then reach out to our team if you have any questions. Super happy to discuss them.
Very cool. Hey, thanks for coming on, Terry and Seth, and great work. Awesome demo. Yeah, very cool.
Thanks for having us.
Cool.
Not bad. Not bad. It made me hungry. Wine, get some sides, some cheese, some olives, some bread.
Yeah, I've never been to France. But I am impressed. Like, I was looking at the app and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like deconstructing what had to go into building that. I see hyperlinks. I saw like a forget feature. I saw all of these things happening in an app. And then to hear that Seth was able to do that very quickly with Amazon Q Developer, and then see the interaction, like the interactivity, the contextualization of all, and orchestrating all of these different API calls, just so cool. Like how that stuff comes together these days.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm very quickly becoming a dinosaur. But I'm cool with it. I at least I get to do shows like this with cool people and talk about cool stuff.
Well, I'm already a dinosaur because I'm using paper maps. But for folks who want to keep up with the times and help evolve this show, I know we've got a survey. We're doing things a little bit differently this time. We heard that you love credits, but that you like AWS swag even more. And quite frankly, I don't blame you. I love this polo. I like your t-shirt that you got going on there. Todd, you want to tell us a little bit more about what we might or might not be giving away at reInvent?
Yes, I do. So for the first 50 respondents are going to get a code for reInvent. And if you come to us and exchange that code, we will give you that hat. So the first 50 respondents who fill out the survey will get that code, and then you can give us that secret code and get a hat in exchange. And I think, did I get that right, Robbie? That's how we're doing that this year?
Exactly. Fill out the survey, you get a code, you come find us at the expo in reInvent while supplies last. And
we're gonna get Nick on to model this hat a little bit later, right? People want to know what, like, you can't just say hat to me. I'm a very picky hat guy. I'm a snapback guy. I'm a beanie guy. I'm not a fedora guy. So it's not going to be like an on-air fedora, right?
I hope not. I know Nick was having a bad hair day, so that's definitely why he decided to nix the codes in the last minute and bring on the hats. I don't blame him, but
yeah, that's right.
I think it's a nice way to mix things up. I know he's been messaging us in all caps while supplies last. Probably making 12-digit hexadecimal code. Hopefully, it's a nice and easy password.
Hey, Robbie, so real quick, I want to mention our sponsor of the show today, NVIDIA. NVIDIA has some really cool reInvent content recorded, and we're going to bring a link up on page. So if you want to check out what NVIDIA has to offer, and specifically what they're doing this year for reInvent, head over to the link that's posting in chat now. So yeah, thanks to NVIDIA. They've been on. I've done a number of segments with them. I've gone over their NVIDIA NIMS project. We've launched containers with the NVIDIA platform on it right away. So they've got a bunch of cool stuff. Go learn more about it here at this link here.
Yeah, and one thing I think is really cool this year about reInvent is we're really focusing on the builders who've taken on this opportunity to leverage generative AI. And so NVIDIA is sponsoring our AWS Generative AI Pavilion. So this is going to be a great place to meet innovators and startups in this space. NVIDIA specifically is going to be in booth 1620, but to get to see some of the startups that both NVIDIA and AWS are working together with should be a tremendous opportunity.
Very cool. Hey, so we're not done yet, Robbie. We've got more action for the show today. Should we bring on our next guest and talk about Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL Limitless database? Should we do
that? That sounds fast. Let's do it.
No, thanks. Hello, welcome to the show, Anum and David.
Hello.
Let's start with some introductions. David, do you want to go first? I heard you first.
Sorry, I was just saying hello. Hi, I'm David Wine. I'm a senior principal technologist at AWS. I have led the development of the Aurora Postgres Limitless database feature.
Cool. Welcome to the show, Anam. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anam Jangshir. I am a product manager with Aurora, and I'm super excited to be here to talk about some of the exciting innovations that we're doing at Aurora. And me and my team, we're usually the folks, that you get to talk to about all the new stuff happening in Aurora. So if you have talked to us, tell us in chat who has already talked to Aurora and is our customer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely. And I actually also have another thing to add to the chat. And this is something we had a little conversation about before we had the show. Something I already messed up. Postgres. How do you say Postgres? Is it PostgreSQL? What? Give us your take on how to say this word for people who might be debating this at home.
I just stop at Postgres. I don't even go further. Dave,
okay.
What do you
think? Yeah, that would be the correct pronunciation. The QL is silent.
Okay, people are like, yeah, sure, you're a developer. You don't even know how to say Postgres, whatever, dude.
We just wanted to trick everyone. We wanted to see if you say the name or not. So, we already found out, Todd, how you do.
That's right.
So one place.
Okay, so we've.
Go for it, Todd.
Oh, no, I'm probably gonna ask the same thing. You go for it.
All right. Well, I think one place to start that could always be interesting for folks who aren't building databases day in, day out. I always think it's helpful to start at the beginning of the movie here to try to think about relational databases as a whole, the landscape. Before we unpack the Limitless database feature, can you tell us a little bit more about building relational databases on AWS, the role that Amazon Aurora plays today, and the type of customer feedback you heard that really motivated this new feature announcement?
Absolutely. So for Amazon, Aurora is our flagship relational database product. So before we even get to the database part, let's just talk about the world that we're living in. We are living in a data intensive world. You have applications which have hundreds and millions of users. The database backing these applications has to keep up with that. The requirements that we're hearing from customers, they want databases that can power millions of transactions, petabyte of data. Think about your favorite game. How many customers they would have. Think about financial services, certain concert tickets, the mess that things can get into. So these are the kind of requirements that we are hearing from customers. So as your business grow, which is fantastic for business, but not so great for you if you are the person taking care of these databases. So as the usage increases, you end up hitting the limits of these databases. So if you have a single database going on, the throughput that you get, the storage that you get. So what do? You basically break up your data into chunks and you use multiple databases, right? Commonly in industry, we call this sharding. Problem solved, right? Not really. This is like the beginning of a really miserable journey. Now, you have a very different problem. Now you're managing all these databases. So just think about the simple stuff like querying your databases. So instead of one database, you have these tens and hundreds of databases. How do you query it? What if one of the nodes is getting super hot and you're going to go redistribute the data again? How often are you going to do it? Is your app still running when you're doing it? Or just, how well are you utilizing it? Are you going to keep monitoring each individual one and, just keep running after it and scaling it up, scaling it down? How do you do all of that? So now you have a very different problem of you're managing all of these managed databases. So we heard from our customers, all of you in the audience, about having a managed sharding solution. So this is what we did. We went to what we do is as a PM, I go to Dave. What do we do about it? So last week we had an awesome announcement. So I need a little bit of drum roll for Dave. So Dave, what did you announce last week?
All right. So last week we announced a general availability of Aurora Postgres Limitless database, which is a super exciting feature for us, where we take a lot of the complexity of managing these large-scale sharded databases, and we make it as simple as managing a single database. We solve a lot of really hard problems around transactions, around query distribution, scaling, backups, all these things that make it really difficult to manage a whole set of disjoint databases. we've solved all those problems, and we just made it very simple for users to just write applications that can scale horizontally. They don't have to worry about managing a bunch of different databases. So they all work together. They look like a single database, and they have the same exact semantics for transactions and queries that a regular Postgres system has, an Aurora Postgres system has, or an open source Postgres has. So it's very familiar for builders. It's very familiar for our customers to use this system. So that's
yeah, we've got some
fiction nutshell.
So we've got Kevi Momo in the chat says we're filming a movie. If we were filming a movie, and you did an amazing job of really setting up. I thought this was going to be a scary movie at first, and then David came in, and I think we've got a demo. And if I was going to guess, this is going to be the hero of our little 20-minute movie here. Should we bring up that demo and kind of see what this looks like in action? All right,
let's do it. So with the demo, we're not going to France. So, I hated to break it to all of you, but if it helps, I'm hosting this in Tokyo. So, I get a little bit brownie points for that. So what I'm going to show you is like a super high level view of how you can get started quickly with it. And then we can talk about, some of the functionality.
Yeah, no, so let's continue setting the stage here. We are logged into the AWS console, right? Yes. And where are we at within the AWS console?
So within the AWS console. So also I'm just going to move my attention to the other screen. I'm not ignoring you all. But I'm operating on the second screen. So on the console, right now you're with Amazon RDS. So this is where all our relational databases are housed. So everything's the same here. What you want to do is on this console, you find this big orange button. That's the beginning of how you go about creating any database with the AWS. So actually, I should be very specific with Amazon RDS. So when you click this big orange button, this is a standard flow of how you create a database. I'm going to go with the standard option. And you get this full list of engines that we support. So since we're doing a demo for Limitless database, Postgres is already selected. So we launch with Aurora Postgres compatibility. I'm going to leave this alone as it is. Up till now, what you're seeing is the regular stuff. This is where the new stuff is added. So with Postgres, we support a lot of different engine versions. So I'm just going to make my life slightly easier. Select this filter. So I only see option of what is supported with Limitless. We just launched, so we're launching with more recent versions. And you see here, it's 16.4. If you're not a Postgres customer, this number doesn't mean anything to you. Don't worry about it. But if you work with Postgres, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to continue going. This is all regular database settings, nothing new here. So we can ignore all of this and let's get to the meat of it. This is where the new fun, exciting part resides. Okay, don't worry about all these words. Just pay attention to where I'm at. Now, typically with databases in Aurora, what you do is you pick an instance size. For example, let's say you want R7G, you want R6G. What you get is you get a fixed capacity. You do whatever with it. You're using it, you're not using it, you have that fixed capacity. Now, Limitless database is a serverless deployment. Now, what that means is instead of us giving you a fixed capacity, we ask for a capacity range. We ask you to tell us a minimum capacity and a maximum capacity. And this is where you enter the options right here. So you'll see minimum capacity and it says ACUs. So in the chat, if you are a serverless customer, you already know what an ACU is. It's Aurora Capacity Units. This is our higher level abstraction of measuring capacity. Now, you give us the minimum, you give us the maximum. And what the database now does it, automatically in the background, it will scale. You need vertical scaling, your application needs horizontal scaling. It'll scale automatically based on whatever you provided. Now, I'm going to go a little bit into more details about, how do I go about thinking about these minimum and the maximum? Minimum is like your starting point. This is the capacity that you'll always have. Maximum is more so, your budget control mechanism. This is where you want to make sure that your team does not go beyond this spend because the database is scaling up automatically. So it can basically scale up to wherever you set it to. So this is how you control how much money you spend into it. This also tells you what are the maximum resources that you can have. So just to talk about the scale right here. We can go up to 6144 ACUs. In the parentheses, you're seeing the gig, so it gives you an idea of what the gig ratio is. It's a 1:2 ratio. Now, homework for everybody in the audience. Look at the databases that you have. What's the maximum memory that you get, the compute? So the resources that you get with your single database, and then compare that to what we have here. And of course, this is a soft limit. If you want higher, come talk to us, and we will make that happen. Or more specifically, Dave will make that happen. Now, this is the first option, and it's very similar to what you see on the serverless side as well with Aurora Serverless. When it comes to compute redundancy, so things like your availability zone going down, bad things happen to good people. So for those purposes, you want to make sure that you have a compute redundancy set. So you can have a single failover target or 2 failover targets. And if this is just like, your development environment, you don't care about that right now. Just say no compute redundancy, and you don't have to worry about that. Now, these 2 things are the user input. This is what you as a customer is providing to us. The real magic is what happens under the hood. So Dave, can you just unpack this for us a little bit? How does this translate into what?
Yeah. Thanks, Anam, for the setup here, and again, thanks everyone for joining on the stream. Thanks, Todd and Robbie for hosting us here today. So, as we said in the setup, typically you get large horizontal scale by creating a bunch of different databases, but the key thing we've provided for you is just a single database experience. So behind the scenes, as we go through and we create this database cluster, we are going to spin up a bunch of different types of resources for you. We'll be spinning up what we call routers. And routers are a layer that your query go to. These are the first component within your cluster that receives your database connections and your queries. The routers do a lot of useful things. They manage transactions across all the different nodes. They know where in the distributed system your individual data lives that you might be querying, so they can, route the queries correctly to the right location that has the data. But they can do more than that. If you are querying across multiple different shards, it can distribute the queries, bring the data together, do aggregates, results, all that query processing stuff. So that's the router layer. Beneath that, what we have is we call our actual shards. These are nodes that access the real data. So let's say you had a customers table. You've got millions and millions of customers, and you want to distribute that customer table across a bunch of different database nodes. So we would have shards underneath where you might have different slices of customer data. And you don't have to tell us where to put that. You don't have to worry about where it's going. We'll handle that all internally. But a query might come for a given customer ID. The router would receive that query look at what customer ID you're querying. It knows which shard has that data, sends that query down to the shard, processes the query, sends it on back to you. Beneath all that is the actual storage, which is based on the Aurora distributed storage. It's been around for over 10 years and has been massively successful for us. So all your data is, regardless of this compute redundancy setting or whatever, all your data is persisted across 3 availability zones. It's strongly durable and consistent, resilient for failure. It's the same storage that backs hundreds of thousands of Aurora systems. So we're layering a lot of our technologies here behind the scenes to give you this single database experience. We're taking the distributed Aurora storage, we're putting these shards on top of it, we're putting query routing on top of that. We're going to give you a single endpoint you can just connect to without having to worry about any of this business when you're actually implementing and using the system.
Yeah, David, I just want to jump in and zero in there. You use the term horizontal scaling, and typically when I think of the term horizontal scaling, I think multiple instantiation of the same thing, so I can beef up capacity versus maybe vertical scaling where I'm just making the one thing bigger or more powerful. But in this way, it's almost, to me, kind of breaks the mold of that in my head as I think about this, because you're still giving a singular experience, but under the hood, also AWS OnAir show, by the way, with Arboto under the hood. you are actually doing that instantiation and doing that horizontal scaling, but I'm still getting the singular experience through my interaction with it. I don't have to worry about the complexity underneath.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, it's like, man, that's horizontal scaling to a new level.
Yeah, that's the idea here, right? And so we're actually combining vertical and horizontal because, as Anum talked about, this is our serverless technology that we use in the regular Amazon Aurora serverless v2 offering. So I talked about routers and shards. These are obviously, there's computers, EC2 instances powering these, and those instances can flex up and down in size. So if you have a shard for, say, a subset of customers, they're not very active right now. That node will shrink down vertically, right, and reduce the number of ACUs it consumes. It'll reduce the amount it fills. But as those customers get hot and activity picks up, it'll scale vertically and give you more compute and memory there. Now, as it starts to get beyond or close to the limits of what a single node can do, we will split that. And so we'll move some of the customers off to a new node and keep some of the customers there on that node. And so you get that horizontal splitting and scaling without you having to worry about it.
Yeah, it sounds it sounds complex, and I'm glad that you solved this and this complexity for us. And I just want to make sure that we've got enough time for a demo. We got just a few minutes left. Is there any where are we going with the demo?
This is literally it for getting started. These are the options you provide, and I'm going to quickly scroll down. All other options, you can literally keep them as it is. You don't have to worry about all of it when you're getting started. And go to the second orange button. Actually, in the interest of time, let me just show you very quickly a one that I created this morning. So when the creation process finishes, what you get at the end of the day is you get a cluster. So this one I created, AWS OnAir, you have a Limitless cluster. Within that cluster, you get a shard group. This is where all your compute is. And if you, let me just click here and quickly show you, it shows, your configuration, minimum, maximum capacity, and you get this single endpoint. So this is what Dave was talking about. Aurora takes care of the complexity for you, but the image that you see, to you, it just feels like you're operating with a single database. You don't have to worry about those, managing multiple databases, those routine operations, having to make everything consistent. You don't have to worry about any of that complexity. Aurora takes care of that for you. And that's essentially it. This is how you can get started. And of course, I understand this is like a 30,000 view of a super complex technology that we launched last week. So I want to encourage everyone in our audience to get started, to come to us, give us feedback, tell us what more would they like to see, and how it is. Just give us feedback.
And Anum and David didn't know. So what we saw today was the console experience where we are clicking through we're following the big orange buttons. I'd have to believe that also there is a programmatic access to these new settings as well. We have a CLI, and these are available there too as well.
Yes, absolutely. So everything that we did with buttons, you can do with CLI. You don't have to even look at the console. So all the features, everything's available with that. I would encourage everyone to, look at the documentation to get started.
It's really cool. Hey, I loved this demo. Limitless. I love the term limitless. It's making me kind of hungry for some reason. Like I want some like Thanksgiving side dishes, like some limitless green bean casserole or something. I'm gonna just like start calling everything limitless. It's a very cool name. Robbie, you got anything else for our guests today?
Just one final question to David, and that is, I hear you're pretty popular at reInvent. You've got not one, not two. How many sessions?
So we've got 3 sessions. We've got 3 sessions this year on Limitless. Anum and I are going to do a 400 level deep dive breakout session. I will get into a lot of the nitty gritty of the transaction management, a lot of real internal stuff. But we've also got a lightning session Anum and I will be doing in the exhibit hall. And then one of our essays, Aditya and I are teaming up for a 300 level chalk talk that's also happening. So there's a few different ways you can engage with Limitless and the Aurora team, or you just spot me around. I'll be the guy that kind of looks like Werner Vogels, but is not Werner Vogels. So, spot me in Vegas, ask me about Limitless database.
Werner is known for wearing some really cool T-shirts at reInvent, so I expect you to match that
Oh yeah.
style.
All right.
Hey,
I'll
so
do my best.
those are the reInvent sessions. So if you want to dive really deep into this and you really want to get hands on with it, go find David at reInvent. But what if people wanted to learn more today? Where can they go?
Documentation. So we also have some blog posts that we launched as part of our launch last week. So get started on that. Look at the documentation. And of course, if you want to come talk to us, reach out to your account teams. Always happy to chat with customers.
Awesome. Hey, David, Anam, thanks for coming on. Really cool feature. Really cool demo. And we'll see you at reInvent.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing you there. All right.
See you.
Thanks.
Robbie, wow. Read the docs. That's such a good, huge tip. Like at the end of there, that's like so important. And it kind of reminds me, I want to bring up this thing. I've never spoken about this on there. I have CRUD tattooed on my fingers. This is sort of a mantra that I live by throughout my life, right? And so if you're familiar, if you're a developer and you've worked on stuff, you've heard the term CRUD before: create, read, update, delete. And it's kind of something I live my life by. I always want to be creating something. It's what got me into being a developer. It's what got me into cloud computing, the creation and being creative. But read, so important. I love reading books because I want to expand my knowledge, but read the docs. I taught myself to develop, and I did that by reading the docs. So huge at the end there, a huge tip: go read the docs, learn more about Aurora, Limitless, Postgres. Yeah, that's my TED talk for today, Robbie. That's all I got for you.
I love it.
We could go into update and delete, but it'll take too long.
No, I mean, in the spirit of updates, who better to update us on the weekly launches of features than the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Barr? Roll the tape.
Jeff,
Boom. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Go.
On mute. You're muted there, bud. Happens to the best of us, even including the Jeff. Hey.
I think that was Nick's fault.
Oh, yeah.
He was looking forward to his Thanksgiving meal already. But
anyway, yeah.
I am just sitting here writing reInvent blog posts. I got lots and lots of awesome stuff in the works, not just from me, but from our other bloggers. So just 3 more weeks to go. Hard to believe, but yeah, 3 weeks to reInvent. I've got a couple cool things to share today if you'd like to hear about them.
Absolutely. Let's hear
All right. Okay. The first one's actually kind of geeky. So we made this good update to Route 53. So I'm sure our audience understands kind of the basics or the bread and butter of Route 53. So Route 53 is a domain name service, and kind of fundamentally it maps domain names to IP addresses. And then when clients, web browsers, and so forth look up the domain name, they get back a set of resource records that basically tell stuff about the domain name. So there's all different kinds, a whole bunch of different kinds. There's the A record that maps a resource name to an IPv4 address. There's an AAAA record that does the same for IPv6. I couldn't find an AA or an AAA for some reason. There's others like the MX records that specify the email service for a domain. So kind of a whole kind of salad full of different record types. All this has been around for a while, but the cool news is we actually added support for 4 more types. And these are actually kind of geeky, but I'm sure somebody in our audience is either going to be able to use these right away, or will find a point in the future when they can. The first one is called an SVCB, or a service binding. And so the idea of this is that the client can do this SVCB lookup and get back all the information it needs to have in order to actually communicate with some service in the domain. So like it returns a whole bunch of key value pairs, basically. The next one is called an HTTPS, and it's a little like an SVCB, but specialized for HTTP endpoints. Then there's one called a TLSA that returns the public key fingerprint of a TLS certificate, so you can authenticate your domain a little bit better. And then there's an SSHFP that supports SSH clients, so they can actually verify that they're connecting to the domain that they would like to. So again, all kind of a bit geeky, maybe not something everybody possibly needs. Kind of often people kind of stick with kind of the more kind of traditional DNS, but now we've got kind of like the soup to nuts of different DNS records, if you will. The other cool thing is we've added an updated model into Bedrock, the Claude 3.5 Haiku. This is the next generation model from Anthropic, and it's supposed to be the fastest model, which I think is always helpful. It combines rapid response times and improved reasoning capabilities, as they say. So great for tasks that need both speed and intelligence. It can chug through unstructured data, finance data, healthcare data, research data, stuff like that. It does code suggestions, chatbots, and there's one cool feature, and I have to actually say, and I'm not afraid to say this, I don't fully understand this one yet. It's called computer use. And so the idea is you can, when you make your prompt and your request, you can give it some extra info and say, here are ways that you can effectively kind of put virtual hands on the calling system. And it all goes through some kind of like gateways and regulations and so forth. So it's never just doing stuff. It's actually like saying, this is what I would do. So it actually understands how to like look at screenshots and do text editing. It knows how to do bash shell scripting. There's a lot of detail in the blog post. I look at this and say, this is really cool and really powerful, kind of right on the edge of what I understand about how things work, but kind of got to go with what you got. So definitely kind of really important and kind of central cool thing for Haiku. And let's see, other than that, I want to remind everybody about reInvent. I've been working, if we look at all the bloggers around the world, we are working 24/7, not individually any one of us, but if collectively we're working 24/7 to write blog posts for all of the launches that'll take place at reInvent. Certainly would love to see in the chat anybody who's coming to reInvent and would love to be able to get to meet them there. I actually heard that Andy Jassy is going to be participating in Matt Garman's keynote this year. So it's always good to hear Andy and maybe good to hear Matt as well. That was about all I had. Didn't have much room to share anything more today because Nick kind of put me on a really tight time budget. I offered him all kinds of cool stuff. He said, Jeff, keep it kind of small potatoes for this time around. So
yeah, small potatoes. Yeah, speaking of potatoes, DNS. Oh, go ahead.
I'll be the Steve Jobs. One more thing. I asked Claude 5 Haiku. I said, tell me some actual Thanksgiving side dishes, and it gave me all these cool ones right here.
I was gonna say DNS for me is like the candied yams of Thanksgiving. I try to stay away from it, but I will eat it if I have to.
Yeah. But I mean, this computer use, if you haven't had a chance to use it, it's super, super cool. You talk about digital assistants. It's not just like the frameworks imposed by agents for Bedrock. You can prompt it to say something like, look at my emails, see if there's an email from Nick. If there's an email from Nick, delete it. But then if I get an email from Jeff or Todd, summarize it, Slack it to my friend Gigi or Fiona, and then, maybe I want to send them an emoji from some Thanksgiving side dish I had a chance to eat.
Wow. Sounds very good.
Yeah, definitely delete those emails from Nick. Speaking of Nick.
Yeah, where are you?
Nick? Where is he?
Yeah, it's good to know why none of my communications ever get responded to. I had a feeling, but now it's good to know for sure.
Don't blame me. Blame Haiku.
Yeah, blame the LLM, dude.
Yeah, I'll blame the LLM. Sure.
Nick, you've just been stuffing your inbox.
I'll look. Is there just a rule? If from Nick, then go to deleted. Like you don't even personally delete them.
Yeah, you don't even need an LLM for that. It's just good old-fashioned rule-based emailing.
Exactly. But hey, guys, speaking of reInvent, though, and that promo code we discussed earlier, obviously we had to have our best-looking person model the hat, so that's why I was asked to do it. But this is the hat that you will get. You can see kind of what's on the brim there. Turn it frontwards. You got AWS. There we go. AWS OnAir. Pretty cool stuff. So the way it works is if you take the survey, you'll get a code. And the first, you come up to us at reInvent, find us at the booth, give us that code. We'll give you a hat. Again, while supplies last. But, take the survey, get the code, try to find us at reInvent and get yourself one of these exclusive hats. Should be pretty cool. However, most importantly, besides the hat, is I don't know if y'all have heard, but the votes, we've been voting for a couple weeks now on things that I have to do at reInvent for my reInvent gauntlet. And it's official, folks. The one that is leading the way by far, enough that we're doing it, is Jeff and I will be having a hot wing eating interview in which we have to eat progressively hotter chicken wings while answering questions about reInvent and the show and everything else. So make sure you tune in for that. It should be interesting. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Hopefully we survive.
Have we started lining up sauces yet? Do we have a sense of where we're at on the Scoville units here?
Yeah, the team, I'm not involved, unfortunately, with assembling that specific stuff. But from what I hear, the team is going as high on the Scoville scale as is humanly possible. So should be interesting for Jeff and I there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tune in for that. Vote on other stuff that we're going to have to do at reInvent this year. Again, just fill out the survey.
Nick, is that day one of reInvent or the end of reInvent? Because that might shift.
I believe right now it's Wednesday. Give us some more stuff to talk about. They really want to prolong Jeff and I's suffering.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't see Jeff or Nick Thursday,
you know why. Yeah. So should be interesting here. All right, guys. I think that's all we got for today. Yeah. Robbie, do you want to take us out this time?
Sure.
I know you're great with impromptu closeouts of the show, right?
Great as in thrown into the deep end with no instructions and just had to have the show, then yes. But folks, in the past 61 minutes, we've covered a whole lot. We got not one, but two launches. We covered, of course, enhanced places, routes, and maps functionality from Amazon Location Service. You can check that out, or you can build your own GenAI infused application to tour all around Paris. And then we followed that up with a super exciting launch of Amazon Aurora Postgres, as the pros say it, Limitless database, a new way to abstract away the complexity of horizontal scaling. Really cool demo there. Some great updates from Jeff around my favorite, computer use, or computer, I think that's what it's called, computer use from Haiku. And we talked about reInvent, how Nick is going to probably not make it to the spiciest chicken wing. He's going to try.
And Robbie, this is episode 43. I know you got some cool 43. Take us out with a cool 43 fact.
I'm always doing something with numbers here. Episode 43. I got 2, and please fact check me if I end up being wrong. Apparently, a standard Rubik's Cube has approximately 43 quintillion possible combinations.
Solid.
In case you needed to know that.
And I know none of them.
Yeah, exactly. And yet I can't get it fixed.
And then lastly, did you know that there are 43 muscles in the face, most of which are controlled by the 7th cranial nerve? Notice the facial.
Nice to know.
Okay, I did not know. Interesting facts here, folks. You get cloud computing and you get human face facts.
Now you know.
There we go.
Nick's 43 muscles in his face will be in pain after the chicken.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
There's 43 ways I will be in pain when eating these hot wings.
Cool. Hey, thanks everybody. We'll see you at reInvent, and I'll be hosting next week. So I'll see you next week as well.
Next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Ready.